our guest is Kathy Bates.
That place way overseas where only brave people went. But in fact, the mission field is wherever you are.
And pass it on. Share the gospel clear and strong. Stand for, claim your heritage of truth.
Welcome to Heritage of Truth. Today our guest is Kathy Bates. Well, you are an MD.
Yes, I am.
And an artist.
Yes, I was an artist before I was a doctor. I actually think that helped me in my practice because as a pathologist, I get to look at beautiful patterns and colors every day when I'm looking at slides and making diagnoses in the laboratory.
Well, let's show everyone your book. It's called Christmas Birds, Art and Inspiration for the Season and Beyond. And she has some beautiful paintings in here. Like here's one, it says Ovenbird and Wild Clematis. Tell us about how you got started doing these pictures and what they were for.
When I was in medical school, I belonged to the Christian Medical Society, which is an international organization for doctors and medical students. That year, we purposed to give a Christmas card to each member of the medical student population in our school, which was about 500.
Wow.
And it so happened that the parent organization that year had produced a Christmas card that we could order and send out. But with our net worth of $42, it was financially out of reach, and we didn't like it anyway. So I suggested that I could make a design, I could come up with something. And color reproduction was not available at that point. That was before the color copier. So I did a pen and ink drawing of the shepherds in the field, which is one of the first illustrations in the book, if you want to show the audience. This was the first Christmas card, which is actually not a bird. It's the shepherds cowering in the divine light of the announcing angel. And I use that very familiar passage from Luke chapter 2, which everyone knows if they've watched the Peanuts Christmas special. And we sent them out. We made copies on slightly heavier than copier paper and gave them to each student in their little message box without envelopes because we couldn't afford those. And that was the beginning. A couple more years went by, and I did that for the Christian Medical Society. Then I was on my own in a residency training program, and I thought, I'm going to continue this because I really like being the one to create the design that I want to have on the card and also tailor the message. In the early years, it was just the thrill of having my own design on the card and choosing my own verses, but it morphed into something way bigger than that. I've been doing it now for over 40 years, and in that time I realized the power of this as a personal ministry. In the last 40 years, I've probably sent out more than 10,000 Christmas cards.
Wow.
I ended up purposing to send a card to each member of the laboratory staff that I worked with, as well as my associates among the doctors. I'm a doctor, so I know a lot of doctors, and many of them are not saved. They might be members of another faith, or they might be just completely disinterested and unattached. So my hospital system now has 3 hospitals, and the number of people just working in the laboratory is over 300. So among those people also many believers, but many unbelievers, or conscientious practitioners of other faiths, such as Islam and Judaism, Buddhism. So I'm sending most of my cards to people who are not believers. I also send them to my family and friends, obviously. But one of the reasons that I started doing a rather non-traditional message on the inside of the card is that I don't want people to just look at the picture on the front and go, ooh, pretty, and then assume that it's going to say Merry Christmas and Happy New Year on the inside of the card, put it on the mantle for a week, and then throw it away. I want them to open up the card after they look at the picture and say, what? Why does my card say Eat Your Heart Out Valentino? That doesn't sound like Christmas. I want them to really read that carefully and figure out, why is this in my Christmas card? And read it carefully, maybe twice, and think about, okay, that's what the point is. And then they will see the relevant scripture at the bottom. But the message, which starts out about the bird, transitions to, a no-nonsense message of the true meaning of Christmas and salvation through Jesus Christ. Mm-hmm. And that's what I want them to see. If I am going to maybe want to give a card to somebody and I don't know where they are in their faith, and I suspect that they probably are not a believer, I always approach them and ask them if I could send them a Christmas card. I explain that I do a special painting for my Christmas card every year with a message that it's not a ho 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 Santa Claus is coming to town sort of a card. It's a Christmas card with a Christmas message. Could I send them a card? And no one has ever refused. Mm-hmm. Never. And I know for a fact that some of the people that I'm sending these to are atheists. Mm-hmm. And you would be amazed. I'm certainly amazed every year when, after Christmas, people call me up, or they write me a thank you note, or even come by my office in person to thank me for sending them this card with the beautiful art and the message, which is even more beautiful. And the most unlikely people do that. Mm-hmm. The most unlikely people do that. My stockbroker, who's a very good person, a moral man, is a secular Jewish person. He's retired now, but he was executive vice president of Wells Fargo Securities with a corner office in the tallest skyscraper in the business district of Atlanta. Called me up to thank me for the Christmas print, which every 10 years I do a larger print. Mm-hmm. And he had framed that along with the message in one frame and hung it in his office. Wow. So that his clients who came in could see that. I mean, this is a person who is not a believer that I know of, and yet he was so touched by that message mm-hmm. that he felt that it was important enough to keep right there so he could see it every day, and that his clients who came in there could see it, mm-hmm. which is amazing. And it just shows the power of the Word and the power of God. Mm-hmm. Whenever I feel like maybe I should hold back a little bit and tone things down, I pray about that, and I just go ahead and put an out there, unvarnished message mm-hmm. of salvation. Yeah. And I kind of wait for the people to complain, and the opposite happens. The mm-hmm. people flood in and saying, "Thank you for that beautiful message. I appreciate that so much. We read that to our family, before we had the holiday dinner." Mm-hmm. Or we framed this and put this in our dining room, mm-hmm. and these are people who are not Christians.
That's great. So it's obvious that God can use us in ways for ministry that we really don't expect. So how would you encourage other people who may not think that they have much to offer?
Well, I would say that I also considered the mission field to be that place way overseas where only brave people went. But in fact, the mission field is wherever you are. And wherever I was a hospital laboratory, 14 hours a day. And my mission field that was the people that I worked with, that I saw every day as a professional. And while I didn't on a daily basis sit them down and talk about the points of salvation, every year they knew that I was going to send them this card that had this message in it. One of my older colleagues who passed away a few years ago was a very observant, a Jewish man, a really top-notch surgeon. After he died, his wife sent me a little note saying that, they had found in his top drawer, he had every card, he had kept them. Mm-hmm. And he treasured those and would take them out and look at them. So that shows that whatever God wants you to do, he's going to make that easy for you to do. It's not hard to do. He will find a way to use your talent, and that's what this is. I'm I'm investing my talent to gain interest for the master.
And the talent doesn't have to be art or music or writing or something like that. It can be
No, it can
something
be
very simple.
Baking cookies or watching children in the nursery so the parents can go and hear the service. Our church has a particular focus on special needs people, and they have a call for people to stay with the special needs children so the parents can come in, because that's kind of an exhausting challenge, and they need to be fed, and they need to have that time of joy and worship, and so my talent is the art, and this is a fantastically rewarding way that has been opened up to me to share the gospel.
Well, do you have a favorite of the paintings that are in the book?
Well, that's like asking who's your favorite child. I always say it's the last one because I'm always hoping to do better. The last entry in this particular book, there's been one more since then, but this is the Arctic tern. It shows a pair of terns. One of them is sitting on the ground. That's their version of a nest. And the other one is hovering above with two little minnows in its bill, and this is entitled The Gift. Basically, this relates to one of my favorite stories in the Bible, which is the account of Jesus feeding 5,000 people with the small boy's lunch of 2 fish and 5 loaves. And it points out to me that God can use anything that we come forward with when He asks us to. Even if the only thing you have to give is 2 small fish, and He can feed 5,000 people and more with that.
Yes.
So my last question to the reader on that card is, what are you going to do with your 2 fish? I think God has a miracle waiting for you.
Good. Well, with that, I want to tell people that this might be a really good gift to give to unbelievers for Christmas, business associates or whoever, because we've got all that information. Oh, this is one of my favorites. I love goldfinches.
Oh, that was the painting that I chose to have a limited edition print framed to be given away in a drawing. Yes, that's
wow.
lovely. That painting actually is owned by my painting friend, who is a lady orthopedic trauma surgeon who's
wow.
Jewish. But I gave that one to her for Hanukkah. And obviously I send them a Christmas card every year.
Right.
And so that's hanging in her dining room.
Where can people find out more information about your book and you online?
I have a website. It's called imagesfromhome.com. The book is available for individual sale, but it's also available for bulk orders for businesses and organizations.
Okay. And they can buy your art online too.
They can buy prints of most of the paintings that you see in the book, as well as other paintings. These particular bird paintings are watercolors, but I also do oils, and for those I do landscapes. Some people might prefer those.
Well, thank you so much, Kathy,
Yes.
for being our guest.
Thank
We really
you.
appreciate it.
It's
And your
such
book
a
is
pleasure.
beautiful.
Such a pleasure to meet you and talk to you.
Share